I think it's really important that the HPU responds to the eviction notice that was put on our fence yesterday afternoon at 3 o'clock. We believe that is a legitimate eviction notice, because we believe that we are exercising our political right to raise awareness and to protest the mismanagement and the concealing of public assets that have contributed to this humanitarian crisis in this state in relation to housing and homelessness. We are constantly hearing that crisis accommodation is the answer to, if you look at any of the newspapers, you'll find that the answer to homelessness, as far as launch housing, as the corporate sort of housing providers or faith-based housing providers, that short-term accommodation or crisis is the answer to homelessness, when it's not. Anyone that's been homeless or faced any of, or been impacted by any of the causal factors that can lead to homelessness understand that it takes more than 3 months to deal with those issues, and you're paying $200 a week to share 2 showers, 2 kitchens, and laundry facilities with 40 other people. And if people believe that that is going to help them resolve their mental health issues, or their gambling problems, or their substance abuse issues, or their relationship problems, they really need to examine their conscience and to examine their heads, because when you're in a place where you have no say over the other people that are living there, that you have nothing in common with them apart from that you're sharing a space, and you're paying for the privilege to do that, it is no place that you can deal with those issues. And so we believe that it is important that we stand and raise awareness about the fact that there's 145 houses that were compulsorily acquired for the East-West link be made available to the public. That it is a no-brainer. That is part of our demands were that the 35,000 people on one of the criticisms of what we're doing here from the media has been that we're standing in the way of families accessing housing. One of the main demands is that these houses be put on the public housing register, not be given to us, not be given, that they be put on the put on the public housing register. That we see a plan to deal with the 25,000, which is a concern. It's about 75,000 homeless people in this state that are dealing with homelessness. That we see some sort of plan by the state government to address this issue. That we see some sort of accountability and transparency about who's managing these properties and what's going to happen to them. Again, these are public assets, they belong to all of us, and if you have a look at the eviction notices, 2 or 3 times they refer to them as private properties. Now, that confounds me. Maybe I'm really simple, but I think if something's paid for by the public out of public taxes, it belongs to the bloody it belongs to the public. As far, as simple as that may sound. So we're not standing in the way of any family. We have not seen one family brought forward by any organisation to be housed here. What we've actually seen is real estate agents trying to put these houses on the private market and trying to break into houses on Wellington Street. So that's what we've seen here, and we've been accused of getting in the way of people. There's 247 people at the last street count that are sleeping rough in the CBD. We stand side by side them and ask that these houses be made available, that these houses be put on the public housing register, and that people who need housing get access to them. These houses were empty for up to 18 months before we got here. We've been here for 4 months, and again, we've seen no movement about any. We've actually seen them. We've seen the state government sabotage some houses, taking twisting pipes and taking fuses out of fuse boxes so they're made untenable. The people that occupy in these houses are homeless. They have come off the street. That we're meeting a need that the state government was not able to meet. In our own way. We have tried to create a community where there was once none. We also stand against the corporatisation of public assets. Again, these assets belong to us. If they go to the Community Housing Federation, they're going to benefit from people's Commonwealth rent assistance, and that is a corporatisation of public assets. And as members of the public, I don't think any of us should be standing for that. We've paid for these assets with our taxes, so again they belong to us, and so we should not stand by and allow them to be, allow some fat cats to make profits from assets that belong to the public. Again, this is a legitimate political protest to raise awareness of the waste and mismanagement of public assets. Prosper Australia has found there are 80,000 private residences in Victoria that are empty. 80,000 private residences that are empty. And 31,000 retail properties, and they can tell by the use of water, so it's not something the HPU is making up. This is Prosper Australia, not a radical left-wing group there, I don't know actually who they are, but that's where the figures come from. So, and it was in the newspaper, a Tory newspaper, so you don't have to take my word for it. So, the 113 homes that are compulsory acquired for the East-West Link, the 145 Evo apartments that are compulsory acquired could solve the homelessness problem in this state within months if they were serious. They tried to conceal the existence of these properties because it can fix a housing crisis, and it contributes to the high rents and the housing affordability, the rise in housing affordability. The state government is hostage to the interests of capital, and they don't want to hear the community, and that's who we are here standing for. I'm not here for myself. I've had a 17-year lived experience of homelessness. I know what it's like, and all of us in the HPU that are here have experienced homelessness, and we're not here for self-aggrandisement or as a platform. We're here to make sure that these houses become available to people that need them. So, yeah, thanks for your time.
And what sparked off this whole protest was that we discovered that there were 9 empty properties sitting on this street, and this was 6 months after the Magpie Nest program was gifted 20 East-West Link properties to house the homeless. And my last point I'd just like to make is that since our occupation, we have discovered that the Magpie Nest program, the Salvation Army joint partnership with the Collingwood Football Club, has actually been housing its own employees in properties on this street. And if not their own employees, then long-term affiliates or volunteers of the Salvation Army. And we find that incredibly disturbing. And we really have to question whether the Salvation Army has any capacity to deliver housing to those in need, to the homeless, to deliver human services. And I'd just like to reiterate the importance of public housing. Research has shown that public housing is 3 times more effective than any other form of community housing in preventing people from entering homelessness. So that's what the union stands for. We've been really clear and consistent the whole time we've been here that we want these houses put on the public housing register to ease the 35,000 people that are languishing on that list for sometimes 10 to 15 years, and that number is growing at 100 people per month. So thank you.
Contrary to Martin Foley's assertions that this political protest is standing in the way of people experiencing disadvantage, the Auditor General's report discovered the Department of Human Services has blown $19.3 billion that it was allocated to provide housing support to people. It is the government, it is the state who is standing in the way of people being provided housing. When state is attempting to evict people who have been forced out of necessity to occupy unused public housing properties, it is the state who is preventing people from being provided housing. The state threatens to use attack dogs and gas against a 10-year-old boy during those attempts to evict people. Not only is the state preventing people from being provided housing, it has abused power. When the state threatens a mother who's pregnant at the moment, who has been forced out of necessity to occupy unused public housing properties with 6 months jail for putting a roof over her children's head, the state hasn't only failed to provide housing, it has abused its power. The state pays $1,000 per day per property to a private security company to prevent people from having access to public housing resources. State is preventing people, not the Homeless Persons Union. It is state who is preventing people from having access to housing.
A community lawyer working with the Homeless Persons Union, it's been my experience that the people engaged in this occupation are extremely committed to the needs of the homeless people in Victoria. It's not been a self-serving approach at all. When people have come into this movement who are experiencing the same sorts of issues that we as a community are concerned about, family violence, discrimination, extremely long-term homelessness, and all that involves, and I just want to point out what that does involve. It involves risk of harm, violence, sexual abuse, rape in some situations, theft, death. These kinds of issues. The Homeless Persons Union has taken an extremely proactive approach in engaging with those communities and trying to give them a voice in order to be able to communicate their views into a sector that often represents their interests but doesn't permit them the space to communicate what their needs are and what they believe the solutions are. Fitzroy Legal Service, which is the service I work with, has been working with the Homeless Persons Union and a corporate firm to try to create a strategic advocacy approach that will put homeless people on an equal footing with departments in order to advocate some of these really well evidenced and not very radical ideas, which are around allocation of public housing. I'm not going to speak very much, so I'll hand over to Uncle Frank, who's going to talk about his experience of homelessness and also about living in this community and a raid that happened a couple of days ago. Yesterday. Yeah.
I'm Frank Hayes. I moved into 13 Bendigo Street over across the road here, and I've been homeless for homeless yet. I've never had a home. I'm 54 now. I've never had a home in my life. This is my first house I've ever had over here. I'm a stolen generation, taken away. It was very bad that the government come and took me away from my family and my family home. Now I've got a home, I supposedly can call my home, which it is to me because I've never had a home before. And I don't care about anybody coming any hour of the morning. They can knock on the door. I know they're cold out there and they need somewhere to eat. They'll sleep and they have something to eat. I'll bring them all the young fellas in, and I think I'm doing more better work than what welfare is doing, and keeping the kids off the street. They're home every night. They're not out every night, all night, doing rorts or thieving or talking about thieving. And they do this yesterday morning. We had about 20, 30 police out the front of my place. Come in, I had the place, I had all my nieces and nephews there, just because they're homeless too, got nowhere to go. I put them up, they come there looking for stolen anything. Well, they stole everything anyway, so it don't matter, they're all stolen, isn't it? But they found nothing at all in my place, which I reckon there's a house full of stolen goods, and they just tear it up. We had a little fucking scuffle in the lounge there, a couple of coppers. I had coppers bounce on my two nephews when they were going to have a little bit of a fight. Yeah, we were a bit disturbed, a bit upset that they could come in and do that. homeless people, they got good houses to go to, they got home. All they worry about is their payday. At the end of the day, they don't give a shit about us, sidekicks. We just a piece of shit to them, stuck to our shoe. Yeah. I think you feel bad at the way we're being treated. Real sad. You see these young kids, especially my nieces and nephews, have got little kids, children. My niece next door, she lives there next door. Got beautiful kids. They're threatening them, they can't even have a house roof to put over their head. We struggle still, we've been struggling since all you white folk come here. We're still struggling. Yeah. We've had that many fights. We think we're running out of fucking punches. So, Spike, Cowley, all the guys, they've been so supportive. Every time I had the police come there, they're right behind me up the arse. It's really good. David Kelly, Spike, Billy Joel, where's Billy Joel? Yeah. Oh, that's Pink. That's Spike Billy. And they all been out for it. Yeah, that's all I got to say. They just, we need to keep these houses. Yeah.
My name's Ronald Terry. Everyone knows me as Ringo. I'm a member of the Wurundjeri people here in Melbourne. Yeah, I know a bit of Frank's story too. This is the first time in my whole life I've ever seen him with his own roof over his head. And we come from a big family. Frank's brother was a professional boxer. He fought for a world title in the Philippines, didn't he? When Ali was fighting George Fraser in the film, we went out with Ali's parents that night for dinner. And then, we grew up in the bean paddocks and down Gippsland and around Dandenong, around Melbourne, and that's our range, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's our home. So Frank's been homeless 2/3 of his life, probably 80% of your life. He's been homeless and just walking his country. And I come from a big family. My mother and his father are brother and sister, and we're first cousins. Frank opens his doors to a lot of young fellas that coming out of prison, now the penal system. That's one thing that bothers us a lot is, these young fellas all get out and no wonder they have the mindset that they do because they got nowhere to go. And neither have we really because, we were all camping out in Sister Girl Tracy's 1-bedroom unit. Some nights there'd be up to 13, 14, 15 people in a 1-bedroom unit, people under the table and all over the lounge room. You've got to walk through their bedroom and go to the toilet all the time. I've slept in 14-storey units down in Nicholson Street, and turned the dryer on and locked the door just to stay warm. You get the back, the blower at the back just to keep yourself warm. I spent 3 years here on my grandfather's country, homeless, depressed, shattered, when I found out about what happened to my people here. I worked down at the Wurundjeri Land Council as a project manager, and we compiled a cultural heritage assessment of the Merry Creek, and they wanted to get a greater understanding of the cultural values that exist along the course of the Merry Creek. So we've done that on behalf of Melbourne Water in a 12-month study. Had some professional strategic advice there, you know, and archaeologists, paleontologists and stuff, and employed a few of the young fellows. But I became homeless again about 3 months ago. I had my own unit out in Noble Park, but before that I was in here. I had a raging heroin habit. I don't use heroin anymore. I've beaten that. I'm not on the pharmacotherapy. I don't go to the chemist anymore. I don't have that hassle anymore, but I'm still very depressed and yeah, because of some shit that's happened in my life. But it's mainly, you know, not having anywhere to go. You know who your real friends are when you're really homeless and down and out. And I can understand why some people take their own lives, you know, because when you lose hope, or you lose all sight of hope, and don't have anywhere safe to lay your head at night and to, you know, somewhere to store your belongings, and that's a real shame on this country, you know, especially this city that I love, Melbourne. I reckon it's the most together city in the whole country, you know. Uncle Kev Buzzicott said to me once, he said, when we were at Camp Sovereignty doing the Sacred Fire stuff, that's what saved my life that time. But he said to me, you know, son, he said, the Dragon landed in Sydney, but he laid his eggs in Melbourne, you know. And I had to get my head around that cryptic little message that Uncle Kev gave us, you know, the old elder, the old peace warrior that went to Nagasaki and apologised to the Japanese people for, you know, some of the material might have been taken from his land over in Narrabunna country. And so, you know, that's where we're at. We're on the bottom of the social ladder, you know. There's not even 1 million Aboriginal souls in this entire country, and the amount of shit that we cop for you know, for being strangers in our own land. Christ, not even 1 million souls.